This might just be the most important tool in your leather shop. I'm Ryan with Alder Branch Homestead, and today we're going to be talking about leather strops. Let's get into it. So, what is a strop and why do you need one? A strop is just a piece of leather that you've either put polishing compound on or not. You could use just bare leather, but if you want to get significant sharpening from it, you definitely want some polishing compound on it. And you use it to strop edge tools. And we'll get more into the technique of using it in a minute, or in a minute at the end of the video. But that's really all there is to it and all that it is. So there's a couple different styles, and I actually like these plain leather ones the best. Why? Because putting it just flat on your workbench, I feel like I can get a much more consistent angle and there's not so much goofing around when I'm using it. This is another common type you might see. It's called a paddle strop for obvious reasons. And I like the idea of them. I find it's very comfortable to be able to hold it at an angle and sharpen things. But I find that well, for one, it does bring the the blade a little bit closer to you, which I like, but it makes me always want to have the wrong angle, too steep of an angle when I'm sharpening something, instead of a nice low angle that the blades already have on them. So on top of that, it's an extra piece of wood and stuff that you don't need to make and don't need to deal with. So why not just skip all of that and move just to the leather? And hey, for leather workers, what's better than just having leather? So, materials. You're going to want some decently thick veg tan leather. This isn't crazy thick. I think this is about 7 ounces. And anything in that ballpark, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ounces, anything you got, thicker the better. But don't go out of your way to get like a big piece of like 14-ounce skirting leather or something like that. Anything reasonably thick, anything that's sold as like carving leather or anything like that will work totally fine. You don't need a giant piece. You know, a 6x3 would probably be good. This piece is actually 9x4 if I'm not mistaken. And that's really all there is to it. If you think, hey, I don't have extra money for extra pieces of leather, use your scrap leather. So I actually have a bunch of pieces of leather that are roughly this size. Here's a couple more of them, and there's a specific reason. These are actually my swivel knife carving blanks, and why throw them away when you can just turn them into a leather strop? So any scrap leather you have laying around is great. You don't need them to be perfectly rectangular or anything like that, though it's always nice and neat to have a perfect rectangle. So we're going to cut ours out, and like I said, this one is 9x4, and I'm just going to cut out another one that's the same size. All right, there is our blank, and now all we have to do is charge this up with our buffing compound. So your buffing compound probably looks something like this. They can actually come in big blocks if you go through a lot of it, or use it for actually buffing for like paints or cars or whatever. But it looks like a little block like this, and they do come in different colors. I prefer these green ones, the chromium ones. They tend to be a little bit finer. And if you keep an eye out on the description for the specific one you get, they can actually vary a little bit in grit. I think this one's about 30,000 grit or so, and they tend to range a little bit. The cheaper ones tend to just be whatever and tend to be a mix of grits, but if you spend a little bit more money, and I think this was only $5 or $10, you can get ones that are a little bit more refined and consistent in their grit. Does that make a difference? I don't know, but it makes me feel a little better, which is always good. Another thing to consider with this green chromium is it works really good, but chromium's not good for you. So if you use this, keep it out of the reach of children, dogs, that kind of thing. But we just need to rub some of this onto the suede side, the flesh side of our leather. And that's really all there is to it. So how do you use one of these things? And what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever you're going to sharpen. I'm going to use this as a fairly thick swivel knife to show you. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to drag it backwards, and you're going to press the bevel flat against the strop. And you don't want to put a ton of pressure in this, so you're just going to, with a little bit of pressure, drag it back. And you can alternate sides. You can also do, a given number on one side and then the other. I don't know where I picked this up, but I kind of like when I'm at the very end of my stropping, I'll do 3 on each side, and then I'll do 2, and then I'll do 1, 1, and call it a day. And that's all you really need to do. So we're just keeping a consistent angle, moving our tool backwards across the strop. Make sure that as you're moving it along, you're not picking your arm up or your hand up. You just want to have the consistent angle moving across. So you just lock your wrist and move your blade across your strop. Now, the reason why you don't want to go this way is because, let me show it on a spare piece of leather. This way, obviously, nothing's really going to happen to the strop, and this is to protect the strop. But if you go this way, you are going to start to dig in and gouge up your strop. So that's not really going to, it's not going to really hurt your tool, but it is going to rip up your strop. Now, is this still usable? Yeah, for the most part. If you're really concerned about the perfect sharpness of your blade, yeah, maybe this is not ideal, but it's not the biggest deal. You're just going to wear your strop out faster. So, is there any maintenance? Yeah, just a little bit. So, as you use this, it'll start to darken up a little bit like this. I don't know if you can see how much color difference there is between the two of these. And as that builds up, you can kind of scrape off the excess with something like a putty knife or something like that. And then all you have to do is just apply a little bit more polishing compound. And if you can see by how much of this is left, this stuff lasts, well, long enough for me to lose it before I run out of it. So a little bit of this goes a long way. You don't need to cake this up on here. Just a little bit, a thin layer is all you need. And that's all there is to it. So you're a leather worker, you have leather on hand. There's no excuse not to have a leather strop. So with that, thanks for watching. Comment any questions you might have, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, I almost forgot. It's definitely worth the trouble to punch a hole in the top of your strop so you can hang it up somewhere. This keeps dirt off of it, but it also keeps, as I said before, children, pets, all that kind of stuff away from it. You'd be surprised at what things look like food and or look like it might be a good idea to lick. So you definitely don't want anybody or anything licking that. So put a hole and hang it up in your shop. At any rate, thanks again. I'll catch you on the next one.